Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday night, and you will know what that means. It means it's almost Thursday morning, and I should probably be in bed, but I'm not. I'm here talking to you, and I'm talking to you about one of my favorite things in the world, AEW Dynamite. Comes on every Wednesday from a very disclosed location, publicly known, because that's the way professional wrestling works. If it was undisclosed, no one would know where it was. But me, I am undisclosed. I'm here in my basement, as you can see, my studio, my home away from home, most favorite place in the world, my wrestling room. Love it. And I'm here to talk wrestling with you about, again, AEW Dynamite live from Canada. It was a great show. Started out very interesting, had a couple flaws we'll point out a little bit. But all in all, I think it was a really great show. One of the best endings to Dynamite I've seen in a long time. And we'll get to that as soon as we wrap up the show. So let's start from the very beginning. And we have the bar mitzvah of MJF. If you've watched professional wrestling for any length of time, you already know that something is going to happen. You're getting ready to set up your next event with MJF because who has a party and doesn't have a party crasher? The cool thing about this, which also was the bad thing about this, was MJF had not only one party crasher, but three, making it a potential fatal four-way at the next pay-per-view. And it was the four pillars of AEW. So in one corner, you have Sammy Guevara. In another corner, you have Jungle Boy. In a third corner, you have Darby Allin. I love the idea of this. I love the concept of this. I love the thought of having these four men completely hold up a company in the future. In the future. Right now, there's no reason for Jungle Boy to be in that ring. Right now, there's no reason for Sammy Guevara to be in that ring. And right now, there's no reason for Darby Allin to be in that ring other than the fact that they're huge baby faces and MJF is a huge heel. Sammy Guevara, even as much as he wants to be a heel, he's not very good at it. So I'm going to call him a babyface because that's what he is. The Jericho Appreciation Society is full of entertainment, full of great value, but they're not really heels. If they were heels, they would get booed when they come to the ring rather than everybody singing Jericho's entrance. They're not heels. They could be. There's a lot of potential in that group, especially with the young Daniel Garcia. Big fan, very big on him. Not only is he a great in-ring worker, but he's got a good attitude about him that could be easily pushed to being a big heel. But the problem is he's not big enough yet. They haven't pushed him to be big enough yet. They have not made him legitimate enough yet to be that big time heel. But one day he will be, and I look forward to that day. But as of right now, those three guys are in the ring. It was a very good segment. But really, let's talk about it. Why is Jungle Boy there? Exactly. There's no reason. Why is Sammy Guevara there? Again, no reason. Darby Allin probably has more legitimacy to be in that ring than the other two. But why is he there? Great promo from Darby Allin calling out all the crybabies and whinies that don't get their way in AEW and go on Twitter and talk about it. I'm guessing that's a shot at like Brian Cage and Miro and some of these other guys who think their value is up here, but in reality it's down here. And I'm sorry for anybody that absolutely loves those guys, but let's face it, what have they done lately? They Miro was great when he had the machine behind him and he had the ravishing Russian Lana talking for him. But then when you let the man talk about what he wanted to talk about and be himself and a video game player, yeah, didn't quite work out for him so well. Brian Cage looks like $1,000,000. He could be a Paul Heyman guy, but not on his own. Nobody wants to hear that guy talk. Tony Khan is trying so hard to hang on to him, to let him be a body guy in AEW. It ain't working. When you got guys like Jake Hager and even Will Hobbs is doing more than Brian Cage. Will Hobbs, believable promos. Got that attitude about him. Believable promos. Brian Cage is as exciting as this sentence is right now. Exactly. So there's no reason for some of these guys to be around. But what are we doing? What are we doing with the pillars? Why did we not build that match? I love the idea of that match, and I hate Fatal Four Ways because there's too much going on. Too much going on. But that match I'm excited about a year from now, even 2 pay-per-views from now. Give it time to build. Again, Darby is probably the only person that has legitimacy being in the ring at the moment. Um, I like the wisecracks from Darby. I even like the retort from MJF talking about everybody having a babysitter except for him. A lot of good things could come out of that. A lot of good promos from 3 of the 4 individuals. Jungle Boy couldn't cut a good promo if his life depended on it. But one day he's going to. And one day he's going to cut his hair. And one day he's going to be the Hollywood son, Jack Perry, and he's going to be a bad guy. And it's going to work. Telling it here. I've told it here before, and I want it to happen. I want him to be a good bad guy. I want him to be important. He's very talented individual. He's very passionate about professional wrestling, and I appreciate that. But right now, it's just not working. You know, working in-ring matches with Christian was great for him. Settle him down a little bit, smooth him out, great for him. But the promo work's just not there yet. I'm sure he knows some acting coaches. I'm sure of it. He needs to get in touch with them. He needs to follow up with them. He needs the help. Sammy Guevara is just an easy person to make fun of because he does a lot of stupid stuff in life. Very talented in ring, though. Again, Darby Allin, very talented in ring, but they are not on a level of challenging MJF for the world title right now. The only thing this does for MJF is makes it a legitimate threat that he could lose his title because there are 3 competitors and he doesn't even have to be pinned to not walk out the champion. But he's going to. We know this. In reality, the true competitor, the true number 1 contender, the elevated man that stands out to me that should be challenging MJF for his world title is Adam Cole, baby. He's the only person in AEW that either A, hasn't been world champion or hasn't had a true opportunity to be world champion. You know, he had a great match with Hangman Page at Revolution, but we all knew that wasn't going to come to anything. That it was Hangman's time. But that's the next guy. That's the next guy. And it may be a short-lived run, but that's the next guy. That's the guy that will take the belt off MJF at some point. Personal opinion, something, obviously things can change between now and then. CM Punk could come back and they're like, no, that's our guy again. But when if CM Punk comes back, he's got a whole different priority list that he needs to focus on. So let's let Adam Cole be that guy. And I'm not trying to take the belt off of MJF yet. I like what he did, the last few weeks. I hated the idea of, the chicken run, run away from everybody. He was doing it for a while and it got stale. He started doing it with Daniel Bryan. The very beginning of their promo, bolted up the rampway, running away from Daniel Bryan. But the win over Daniel Bryan, that could give him a great chip on his shoulder, a good attitude to kind of just run down people's throats, to hate him even more, calling himself the best professional wrestler in the world, beating a true technician in a submission hold like Daniel Bryan, gives him legitimacy in the eyes of people who thought for some reason, MJF can't actually work. He's just great on a mic. No, he can work. He can work. You've just never seen it because AEW's not showcased it, because the man's probably only worked 12 matches since the inception of AEW. Give it time. So again, great opening segment, great concept, great idea for the pillars to all be in a match together. But is it too soon? Is there no story to build to it? Yeah, it's too soon. There's no story. There's no reason for them to want to come out other than the fact that MJF's the champion and they think they should be champion. I need a little more than that. I need just a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a lot, but a little bit more than that. Some other things that happened tonight on AEW, you had Orange Cassidy versus Jeff Jarrett. Obviously, a lot of outside interference happening. Jarrett rolls with an entourage. It's great because it gave a real reason for Orange Cassidy to beat Jeff Jarrett. because let's face it, Orange Cassidy and Jeff Jarrett in a one-on-one match, in any other situation in the world would not have went the way it went. Um, Jarrett is one of the most professional wrestlers, not to take anything away from Brian Myers, that there's ever been. He is as carny as they come. He is absolutely fantastic. Um, he is a great asset to the company. I think he will help guys like Orange Cassidy with their in-ring work. I think he'll help guys like Orange Cassidy and the other pillars with their promo work. He's such a good asset to have. Not only have ran a company that was building a lot of steam and success, but to be so generationally involved in professional wrestling, going through everything that he's been through. It just it makes me happy knowing that Jeff Jarrett's in AEW. And it makes Steven Barker happy knowing that Jeff Jarrett's in AEW, because I know he's a big Jarrett mark as well. So, good on us. Great that Steven Barker has something to look forward to. I can't wait for the day that Dalton Castle is AEW World Champion just for Steven Barker. It's just for you, Barker. It's probably not going to happen, but I look forward to the day that it potentially happens. So, a good match. The dust settles. You have your winner. Like I said, again, a lot of outside interference. I'm not crazy about that unless it makes sense. Some of it made sense. Some of it did not. I like the double referee situation, but I also like that once Aubrey come down and fulfilled her role, she backed Sagnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt back up the ramp and left the match to the original official, which is the right thing to do. And the match continued. Still a long way to go. A lot of work that needs to be done there in their storytelling ability. But all in all, not bad. Another thing that we see tonight on AEW, and I'm just trying to breeze through some of this stuff so we can really talk about what needs to be talked about. QTV with Will Hobbs shows, everybody saw the cell phone footage, the live video from Wardlow talking about his car window being smashed out, his TNT title being stolen, his gear being stolen, and then they're making light of it on AEW. Good on Tony Khan for doing that, and hopefully they didn't hold it against Wardlow for losing the title, which could be, why he lost the title. Who knows? But we have Will Hobbs and QTV, talking about Aaron Solo actually breaking into Hobbs's car, or Wardlow's vehicle, taking the belt, taking his gear, whatever. And obviously, we know that wasn't true because it looked like it happened in a parking garage on QTV. But in reality, he was outside. It was dark. It was late at night. Great transition into a story to kind of build a little more depth there. But we know what really happened. And to you people out there who are breaking into other people's cars and stealing TNT titles, you suck. Like, this is the second time that an AEW title has been stolen. The first time being Chris Jericho. The AEW World title was stolen from Chris Jericho at a steakhouse. And now the TNT title has been stolen from Wardlow. Like, Tony Khan, you need to, like, the next couple belts you have made, you need to get a little Apple AirTag sewn into the leather so you can track them at all times to make sure that you guys are taking care of them and that they're, in good hands. And if they're not, easily found and reported. Another thing tonight we saw was Jade Cargill. This was a very interesting setup here. Had a young lady, last name of Matthews, big on the indie scene in Canada. Obviously, just going to be another squash match for Jade Cargill. Had a little bit of offense in it, not enough to really count for anything. It was the open challenge for the TBS Championship with Jade Cargill, and then we have the match, and Renee Paquette comes out, and she's like, is this the best Canada has to offer? But then we have a true competitor a true competitor make her AEW debut in Ty Valkyrie, which is super exciting. Um, as long as she does not bring Johnny Nitro, Mundo, Morrison, Elite, Impact, whomever he decides to be next with her, leave him at home. You can be the breadwinner. Ty Valkyrie, very, very good addition to the women's roster of AEW. A very believable opponent for Jade Cargill, which is wild to think. She's 54-0, and the most believable opponent is an outside person, and she's not the women's world champion. And I know the 54 knows a lot of squash matches, and that's for a reason. They're making her legitimate amongst the professional wrestling world, letting her get her reps in before she does anything longevity, before she does any type of match that requires showcasing of skills. She's getting better. If you don't see it, you're not watching. You're turning the channel or you're going to get a drink when she comes on, which is fine. I do it for most of the women in professional wrestling. Jade's kind of growing on me a little bit. She again has one of these personas that is believable. I believe she thinks everything she says. I believe she thinks she's as good as she says and as important as she says. I believe that she thinks she is a big time money player in the world of professional wrestling. And that's what it takes to become a money player in the world of professional wrestling. Because if you don't believe it, even when you're cutting the promo, no one else is going to believe it either. The arena is not going to believe it. The TV audience is not going to believe it. I'm a believer. I think she needs a lot of work on her in-ring work, but I believe when she cuts these promos that that's not a gimmick. I believe that that's reality. Whether it is or not, I don't know. And I don't care. I want it to suspend disbelief. That's what I want my wrestling to do. That's what she's starting to do for me. Go Jade Cargill. Another big match that we had tonight was a 6-man match. Hangman in the Dark Order versus the Blackpool Combat Club. I find it very interesting that the things are happening with the Blackpool Combat Club that are. So this week it was a lot about Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Hangman's outside of the ring, which is fine because they're the hometown boys. But last week, Hangman comes down to the ring after the match with Uno and Mox to check on his guys, and not one person of the Combat Club touched him. They let him get into the ring, slide through, check on everybody. He stands up, he's looking at them. It's very interesting to see that and them not jump him until he made contact. Didn't seem quite kosher to me. Almost seemed like he was going to be one of the boys for a minute, one of the Blackpool Combat Club. Everybody has joined the Blackpool Combat Club trial by fire through blood feuds, and Mox and Hangman just had a good blood feud. Is Hangman getting ready to change gears? So this week they teased the Elite a little bit. Last week they teased the Blackpool Combat Club a little bit. For me, it was a tease because that's the way I've seen it. I think of the history of the Blackpool Combat Club, and I don't sit here and think, they just beat him up to beat him up, because at first they didn't. At first they let him come in and check on his guy. And then it wasn't until he hit Claudio that anything ever happened. Be kind of interesting to see what goes on there. I would really, because I don't see Daniel Bryan coming back, not to the Blackpool Combat Club anyway. I think he's going to continue on a singles run. I think he's enjoying that part of it more so than he was being a part of a group. I believe that he's going to take a little bit of time off, and I think he'll come back, and I think he'll be a very good mid-card enhancement guy. And not to say that he's mid-card, but I think he's going to be one of the guys that enhances the mid-card. He could also help develop some story for, whoever's in your world title contingencies, but I think he's going to be a great mid-card title contingency guy. I think he's going to be someone to truly help elevate the company. I don't think he ever joined AEW with the aspirations of being the world champion forever, but he might have. Who knows? I just don't see it from him. I see him just being a guy that wants to wrestle, and they're going to allow him to wrestle. So we'll see what happens there. Blackpool Combat Club gets the W tonight, and it leads to a brawl later on in the back during the main event, which is what we all want to talk about. You have the Elite, the House of Black, and the Jericho Appreciation Society, which is very interesting because you have the championship team, and then you have two partial hometown teams. And obviously, no one wins in their hometown except for CM Punk because they don't want Chicago to burn down arenas because that would happen. Um, so you have Kenny Omega from Canada, huge ovation. You have Chris Jericho from Canada, and not only are they from Canada, but they're in their hometowns. Like this is where these boys are from. This is where they planted roots. This is their home. Um, so you have Jericho. I would say huge ovation, but everybody sings Judas when Jericho comes to the ring again, which is what makes them not heels. As much as they want to be heels and do some cheap, cheeky stuff, they're not heels. Let's face it. House of Black had one of the coolest entrances they've had tonight. I like the Firefly esque entrance that they have going on now. The pirate sheet entrance that debuted at Revolution of last year, not this year, was really cool. But this, I think, I like much better. These guys come out and they look like they are straight out of a dystopian style, futuristic end of the world movie, Mad Max. It's great. You know, even better when they suit up and you think that they're crime bosses. Everything that the House of Black does, I absolutely love. Three of the most talented in-ring individuals, not just in AEW, but in the world. We've seen some of the best stuff ever come out of Buddy Murphy and Malachi Black, formerly in the WWE, even working on 205 Buddy, NXT Buddy, NXT, Aleister Black and WWE Aleister Black. Brody King, great work coming out of Ring of Honor. If you're not familiar with these guys outside of AEW, you really need to look into them and become familiar. Obviously, this match had 2 points to drive home. One, let's make the House of Black look extremely strong by defeating 6 other men that are very well established in the company, who are great performers, who are great in-ring workers, who have history, who have pedigree. A couple young studs on the Appreciation Society who have all the potential in the world. Let's drive a point home that these 3 guys are just bad dudes. And I think they did a very good job at that. And then the other point to drive home is let's see how over we can get Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho in their hometown. And I think they did a great job of that. The very first interaction, they tease it, House of Black breaks it up. And that was great. I think they should have done it at least once more before. And we thought they were going to. Here comes the House of Black again. Jericho takes out one, Omega takes out one, and it's time to go to town. Obviously, watching it, I don't think that Jericho and Omega belong in a ring together anymore. I don't think that Jericho is, obviously he's not aged 20 years ago. He's not the same guy anymore. He doesn't. There's a lot of times if you pay very close attention, Omega is very kind to Chris Jericho during their interactions with one another. Very kind. And all the respect in the world for him, to him, for doing that, making sure to protect and take care of Jericho, to not make him look worse than what he could have already been looking. Because Jericho is, he's an icon in the business. I've touted and said it several times on this show that Jericho could potentially be the legitimate GOAT. Everything that he's done in this business for the generations that he's wrestled in, for the talents that he's beat, for his longevity, for his in-ring abilities now versus then, for his promo ability then versus now. Nothing but good things to say about Jericho, not even being a Jericho fan. Just not. He doesn't do a lot for me, so I'm not going to speak poorly about him, but he just doesn't do a lot for me. But I'm very happy that he's in AEW because he is elevating talent left and right. He is making people stars, and that's what he's there for. Everybody wants to talk about Jericho and Orange Cassidy and the Orange Punch match, or the Mimosa match, and everybody wants to talk about all these job matches that Jericho's having with these guys. But that's why he's there. He's there so they can say, one time I beat Chris Jericho on national television. One time I beat Chris Jericho on a pay-per-view. One time I beat Chris Jericho for a world title. That's what he's there for. And he's there because people know the name Chris Jericho. So I'm going to tune in to watch. He knows his place and positioning in the company, and he's playing that role extremely well. So during this match, you also have, again, the brawl in the back of the Dark Order and Blackpool Combat Club, which is going to lead to them busting out onto the scene, coming out after House of Black covers Daniel Garcia, which was the absolute right thing to do. Because one, you can't cover Jericho, you can't cover Omega, because then nobody's going to care about what happened afterwards. You can't cover the Bucks because of what's getting ready to happen afterwards. They have to be somewhat fresh. You can't cover Sammy Guevara because he's just challenged for the number one contender spot. He's trying to be world champion. And if he loses in that match, then guess what? He has no more legitimacy. So thank you, AEW, for making sure that you covered and tied up all the loose ends with that final fall. Daniel Garcia eating the pin. It doesn't hurt Garcia whatsoever because he just got beat by 3 legitimate dudes. Whatever. So now you have Hangman coming out, beating up Wheeler Yuta, takes him to the ring, gets in the ring. Here comes the Blackpool Combat Club to Yuta's rescue. They edge up onto the apron, and then the Elite enter the ring. Bucks and Omega behind Adam Page, and Adam Page doesn't turn around. He doesn't know that they're behind him. He doesn't care that they're behind him. His focus is on the Blackpool Combat Club because that's where his problem was originally, and he is dead set on making sure that he takes them out. So then they step out of the ring. Again, it almost teases the fact that, are they stepping out of the ring because they're afraid of the Elite? Are they stepping out of the ring because of a numbers game? Are they stepping out of the ring just to mess with me even more, not knowing if Hangman Page is with the Elite, if he's with the Dark Order, or is he joining the Blackpool Combat Club? I'm saying it here. I've said it a couple times, not here, but I'm saying it here. So there's video evidence of me saying it. I just don't know. I think he would benefit from being part of the Blackpool Combat Club because I think Jon Moxley wants to step away. I think that style of match that he doesn't like, according to him on Dynamite, is a good fit for him. I think he needs to step out of the cowboy role a little bit. I think he needs to stop wearing the butterfly jeans. I think he needs to stop doing things that make me stutter for some reason, and I can't say butterfly jeans without slurring my words. I think he needs to be a part of the Blackpool Combat Club to make himself a little bit more of a legitimate fighter, a little bit more of a not so much of just a technician worker, I think he needs that little edge, that little bit of violence behind him to really push him to the next level. I think he's close. He was really close at one time before, and they ruined it. They wasted him the first go around. And again, I know that he wasn't fully ready for it, but he's been close a couple times. I think maybe going with the BCC will elevate him a little bit, probably more so than being with the Elite will, because he will just be a background player to Omega and the Bucks, because I don't think that the fans will see him as one of the 4 guys. They will just see him as a guy behind the 3, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'll be interested to see where this goes. All in all, I think AEW Dynamite tonight was probably, I don't know, a B+ for me. Could have been a little bit better. The 4 pillars kind of lowered it a little bit for me. The women, and I didn't even really talk about Ruby and Soraya and Tony coming out and doing their thing, and then the Britt Baker coming, or not Baker. Yeah. See, I don't even remember now because there was a rush of them that all come out. Riho stands out to me. Riho was there with her gimmicked up Scott Hall steel pipe, coming to save the day. that just it all just threw me off. And I probably went and got something to drink whenever that happened because that's what I do for women's wrestling. I tried to listen to Ruby. I'm a big fan of Ruby Riott. I think she deserves a lot more than what AEW is doing for her. I think she should have been the one to beat Jade Cargill in some way, shape, or form, or put her in a triple threat to beat somebody else to take the title off of Jade, so Jade can go up to be the AEW Women's Champion. Ruby needs a belt. Ruby's not quite established enough in the world of professional wrestling without a title to be a top player. I think she needs a belt. So Tony Khan, put the TBS title on Ruby Soho. That has been your AEW recap. AEW Dynamite live from Canada. I hate that they're doing a tour of Canada. I'm taking like a whole month of June off. No events have been announced, but they're doing a summer tour of Canada. I'm not going to Canada to watch wrestling, although I might. I don't know yet. Guess we'll see where they go and how far it is and when. Either way, I am Derek Jones, the only Derek Jones that matters. This is the House of Kayfabe, and this was your AEW Dynamite review. Like.